Today I'm going to make a login page that actually logs into my Cognito service. This is the register page that we made in the last video, and I'm also going to change this. I didn't update login as register. We're going to go to our login page. This looks good. We just need to connect it to Cognito. So while we're at it, while we're thinking about this register, let's go ahead and change this text right here so it's more representative of the site, of the page we're on. So I'm going to open up my Visual Studio Code. I'm going to go to register. It's right here. And register.html. Right here I have login. I want this to be register or sign up, something like that. I'll just keep it simple. I'll say register. Do a Control S to save it. I have ngserve that I need to get running. And we're in our Bigfoot directory here. I have another command prompt up where I did the registration component from the last video. Let's take a look at our update. And we're going to have to wait for our ngserve to start. And there we go. We got our register. Now we can see a difference between the pages. You can see a difference when you go to get your code after you register, but we want it to be more clear. A few videos ago, we made a login page with a hard-coded authentication on the client side. It's not logging into anything really. We're just getting the mechanics of the login. Let's take a look at our Visual Studio Code and make this a legitimate login page. So I have my login component right here. Go ahead and open that up. I have my login.component.html is right here. It's basically a card. It's got a title, your username, password, and then in the footer of the card, we're going to have our button. Let's go to our login.component.ts, or right here under the login. You can double click that and start changing this so that we talk to Cognito. Let's import our Cognito service that we wrote a few videos ago. I always do that with the end, Cognito service. And we're also going to use the iUser from that interface that holds the user information. So since we have that there, we don't need member variables or field data for our field variables for our username and password. We're going to use the iUser. Let's go ahead and make a variable called user. We'll say colon iUser. And I'll put a colon there. We're going to need a constructor because that's complaining, hey, it's not initialized. We need to initialize it in the constructor. So I'm going to say constructor, open parenthesis. We're going to do some dependency injection. We're going to get our router. We'll say private router because we want to be able to route to the home page after we log in. And that's of type router. If I hit this, enter, boom, it should be added up here. If it's not, you're going to have to type it in just like I did with my Cognito service. Now I'm going to do a private for that Cognito service. We already have that added to the imports. Say Cognito service colon Cognito service. There we go. I get a curly bracket in there. And I'm just going to initialize my user. Let's say this user. I'll give it an empty Java object. But I'm going to say as iUser so it knows the type. All right, now this sign in here, we got the right idea. It's just the wrong implementation. We want to do some comparisons, but we want to use Cognito to make sure that it's okay, and we got to get tokens back from Cognito. So maybe I'll make this a little more proper by saying public here. Put a colon. Void. We're not going to return anything. Then I'm going to say this Cognito service dot sign in. So our Cognito service has a sign in. We're forwarding our request from our login to the Cognito service. We're going to pass in the user. We have not updated the user on the web page yet though, so it'll fail, but that's all right. We're going to get to it. We'll say then I have two sets of parentheses. This one's going to be for an anonymous function. I'll do the thick arrow, open curly bracket. If the service signs in, then we are going to use the router to navigate, open parenthesis, open square bracket, open single speech quote, home. All right. Now down here, if there's an error, we want to catch it. So I'm going to say catch. I'll do a double parentheses, thick arrow, and we'll do a curly bracket. Let's just put a message so we know that something's wrong right now. We'll get back to it. So I'll say console log something bad happened in login component. Sign in. How about that? On sign in login component. There we go. We can find it now. We can do a search on that. All right, that looks good. We can put a semicolon here. We got to go to our HTML now because it was expecting a username and password. So it's already complaining. I'm going to put this on the next line. See that little red thing? That's no bueno. Let's change that. Let's change that to user.email. In fact, since we're using our email as our username, let's change this too. I don't like the IntelliSense. Here we go. Email. And then we have a type email. So that has that little @ symbol in there to make sure it's well formed. And we'll just call this email too. That's pretty good. We're going to do something similar down here. The username or the password looks good. Password. Let's put this in the next line so we can see it. We're going to do a user.password. We got it. There we go. And our login button looks good here. All right, let's give it a shot. I'll save everything off. Save all. Bring up our website. There we go. And remember, I had that password for, or that username for my Proton account. I did Simtech Gamer7 at proton.me. Gave it a simple password. Hit the login. Welcome to Bigfoot Hunters. Did anything happen behind the scenes? Let's check. Let's right click, inspect. And then I'm going to go to my application here. And I'm going to look under local storage. Right? We have our local host. Look at that. We have a whole bunch of these tokens. We have these key value pairs. This is coming from Cognito. See, it says Cognito Identity Service Provider. So this is allowing us to use the authentication on our client side. We successfully talked to Cognito. It came back. We got into our site. Now, why don't we go ahead and do a log out too?